Okay, we are live and we are here with Tammy Wickham for podcast number 1. Thanks for coming, Tammy.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
How do you feel?
Excited.
This is it. I asked a lot of people, but they were too scared to come on film. If it was just the audio, it'd be a different situation, but the filming...
Yeah, it takes it to a different level.
Freaked a lot of people out. So thanks for driving all the way from Bundy.
Oh, no worries.
And how was the trip down?
It was good. It was very easy. There was very few cars, so nice casual trip. So, yeah. It was
What's it like being at Dead Cow when there's no one here? Because I assume you were here last year.
Yeah.
And there would have been, I think there was, 163 runners and probably 300 people on site, just people everywhere. So what's it like just having a few tumbleweeds?
Oh, it's very... There's so much serenity out here, like going, because I've only obviously come here when there's been training runs or events on, and to come out here when it's just so peaceful and quiet is just like, it's such a beautiful area and it's such a unique place to run, which I think is why, people love it so much. It's just beautiful.
So Tammy, I first came across you. You came out to a training run and you were trying to smash out the 8 loops.
Yeah.
And it was pretty hot. I think it was like a September
It was
training run, and it would have at least got to 30, probably over 30 that day.
Yeah.
And you were just suffering out there.
It was a tough day. That was 2020, I think that was. And I just had in my head that I wanted to do the 8 laps. Like the 8 laps was the training run, and that's what I wanted to do. And I just came out here by myself. My sister did join us later, but it was just, I just wanted to do it. Like I had my chair and I had my nutrition, and that's all I had.
So tell us, what were you doing beforehand? So you ended up completing the 8 loops, which is really impressive, and you were in bad shape, but you completed it.
Yeah.
Those last few laps, it looks like you were suffering.
They were tough, yeah. I remember walking around some parts of the course, and JP, John Pearson, he was so supportive. He was very encouraging in those last couple of laps because he was here with his family, I think they were. And he was like, come on, Tammy, let's go. And it was like, okay, I'm almost there. And it was just brutally hot. But coming up the dirt road to the finish line, I was the last person in on the 8 hours, and everyone started clapping and cheering, and it was just amazing. And I felt so good for obviously completing the 53 Ks and to have just this beautiful running community there to cheer the last person on. It was great.
Do you know what time you came through on that loop 8? Was it, you must have...
I don't think I had too much time left. I think I had like 5 minutes left because I did a fair bit of walking around the course because obviously I was pretty knackered towards the end. So, but I was just determined to get under that 60 minutes.
So you've come out to Dead Cow, you've done your 8 loops. How did you get to that point? So if we just go back a bit, how did you get into running, and what prompted you to put on your joggers and start? Like, can you tell us about that journey?
Yeah. So I started running in 2017. It was after the birth of our 3rd baby. I was wanting to just get back into being fit, or I wanted to be fit because I'd never really been into exercise or anything in my teens or as I was older. And I wanted to try running. And it just gradually grew from wanting to run 5Ks and accomplishing that to 10, and then it grew to 21. And then it was like, well, if I can do this, I really want to do a marathon. And, I trained for that, and I did a marathon. I think I did a couple marathons 2019, and it's just been this incline of just wanting to know how far I can go.
So you've had your, how many kids have you got, Tammy?
I've got 3. So I've got Axel, who's 13, I've got Ella, who's 11, and then we've got Zoe leading at the end, who's 7.
So Zoe, you had Zoe. And after Zoe was born, is that when you started this whole thing?
I had never run a day in my life.
Okay. So
that.
you weren't into school sports. You weren't into you weren't like an athlete at school.
No, in primary school, I did a bit of like cross country, but obviously high school, you know, I had other things to think about, study. Like I was a real loved reading, that kind of thing. So it didn't really interest me too much. So yeah, it was nothing. There was nothing at all until
Did you play
6 years ago.
Did you play any team sports at Bundy, like the netball team or the touch team? Or
No.
so you literally had no.
I had no base whatsoever.
No gym membership.
I started gym at the same time I started running. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But then running overtook everything, and now gym is like I just do strength work at home, and gym's not really an interest because I just love running so much.
So started 7 years ago. You're trying to get into shape. So what prompted you to get into shape? Like, did you see someone else? Did someone else inspire you, or were you watching a documentary or YouTube clips? How did you what prompted you to even start this?
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it was anything in particular. I think it was more just about wanting to be a better version of myself and wanting to kind of get fit and exercise and, you know, just kind of go down that path.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what did you do first? Did you just go running on your own around the block, or did you turn up to park run, or did you message some mates? Like how did it all start?
I did start doing a lot of solo stuff. That was the majority of my running. And then I found a local group called Wide Bay Running Tricks, which is a big local group that expands, you know, Bundy, Harvey Bay, South Burnett, like wherever we are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it evolved from there. And then when I kind of fell down the rabbit hole, as Nicole calls it, ultra running has just really blossomed, and I've met some really beautiful people because of ultra running. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, it was so damn impressive, Tammy, like just the way you went about your business at the training run, because it was hot. A lot of people pulled out. And I'll be completely honest with you, when you said you wanted to do the 8 loops, when I looked at you like at loop 4, I was thinking it's probably not possible. But you kept dragging your ass across the line, and you sort of had this determination, and the thing is, you weren't. To me, you epitomised just like an average runner.
Yeah,
you're not big noting yourself. I've looked at you on social media. You know, you celebrate your achievements, but you're not posting every day.
Yeah,
how good you are.
Yeah,
which is a really good trait. But you just went about your business, you got it done, and I think from that training run, something switched, because you went from a regular runner, and you turn yourself into an ultra runner.
Yeah. And
what was your biggest distance before the 8 loops at Dead Cow?
So I had done the marathon, so a road marathon before then. But really it was just, 10Ks, halves. Like back then they were a major achievement, and they still are a major achievement for anyone really. But now it's just, after what I've done now, it's just amazing even for myself to think about how far I've come in just a couple of years.
So what is it about, you did those 8 loops, what was it about that hit the switch? Like, what did you enjoy about that? Because I think a lot of people listening would be thinking, doing 53, 54 Ks in the heat, why put yourself through that? And why was there a sense of achievement to even do that in the first place?
I think it's about trying to find how far you can go with yourself, and also that feeling of accomplishment of knowing that you can do it, and you think, I can do hard things. Like, I can do this. I've just run 8 hours straight. Like, that's pretty cool. And it's, I'm a mum of 3. I work 2 jobs. Like, we're a pretty busy family. Like, if I can do it, you can too.
Dead Cow Gully is one of the most talked about events on the running calendar. 6.7 Ks each hour, every hour, until the last one is standing. We're located on a 1,600-acre working cattle property, and we've called this place home for about 150 years. We would love for you to come out and check out the action. But last year, we sold all the tickets in about 14 hours, so you need to get in quick to secure your spot. Tickets will go on sale this year at 6 p.m, September 25. Lock in this date, 6 p.m, September 25. You can register through our website, deadcowgully.com.au, or on our Facebook or Instagram page. Thank you. What type of work do you do? What 2 jobs do you have?
So I'm a sales manager for a stonemason Monday to Friday, and I also sell shoes on a Saturday.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're in the office. You're not outside doing physical labour.
No, it's very much an office job. Yeah.
Yep.
So my running in the morning, I run 6 days a week, is my time to kind of be active and before I sit down for the day. Yeah.
What would you say to people getting excited about running, like marathons and ultra marathons? They might hear your story or watch a YouTube clip, and all of a sudden they're excited and they go out and they buy their running shoes, their gear, they sign up to events, and they try to do too much too soon. Like, they don't get that base in there.
Yeah.
It's not, you need that slow build up. How did you go with that? Like, getting from a park run, a 5K to a 8 loops at Dead Cow Gully. What time frame did you do that over? And what's your advice to people that have the passion and desire, but you kind of want to avoid injury if possible?
Yeah. So obviously the biggest thing is to start slow. Obviously there's absolutely nothing wrong with walking, like having walking breaks when you're running, especially when you are building up your distance. Like, there's no shame in walk running. That's a way a lot of people do start, because if you go out too soon, obviously you do risk injury. And you're thinking, oh, this is just so hard. Why is this so hard? Whereas if you just gradually build, like when I started running, I was only running 3 days a week, maybe 5, 10 Ks at the most. And now I'm running, 100K weeks.
Really?
Regularly. Like,
wow.
So it's just been a gradual increase over the years. Start slow, basically.
Yeah. So when you're training, you implement that walk-run strategy? Like, do you have are you looking at your Garmin watch or something to find out like when your walk break is, or do you just do it off feel? Or if a hill comes up, do you walk up the hill?
Sometimes when I'm specifically training for backyard ultras, because that's really what I love doing, that's my biggest passion. Some of my longer runs will be specifically have walk breaks in them. For example, on a Sunday, I might go out and do 3 or 4 hours, and I'll do a 23-minute run, 7-minute walk, and I'll just keep repeating that, because obviously the lower your heart rate, the more that you can recover, and then you can go out again and do it the same day. Like, I'll back up the runs on a Saturday and Sunday to try and build up that distance.
Yeah, so that's one of your strategies. So you want to keep the heart rate low. Are you keeping track of your heart rate during backyard ultra training, or how do you?
It's a bit of both, I think. Like, I like to run to feel, but I also do keep track of my heart rate. Obviously, with it being so hot lately, the heart rate has been higher. So I've just been trying to be mindful of that, start a bit earlier. I'll start at like 4:30 or 4 in the morning. And try and get out of that heat by 8:30. So
sure,
yeah.
So okay, so you do the 8 loops at Dead Cow. Everyone's impressed. You get a big round of applause as you come in. Where to from from there? Obviously, it would have taken a while to recover from that.
Yeah.
Because you did take a couple of weeks off running?
Yeah, I usually try to take, I always try to have like a lower week after my latest backyard ultra, for example, at Clint Eastwood. I did 160 Ks there. So I took 5 days off after that and then just slowly started building back up again from there.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's been beautiful. Like after the training run at Dead Cow, that's where I really started to kind of really delve into that ultra running. And I had actually signed up for Blackall 50 not long after the training run. And I was running with my group of friends and doing all the same kind of training as them who were actually doing the 100 Ks. And they're like, why aren't you doing the 100 Ks, Tammy? You've done all the same training as us. I'm like, you know what? Why am I not doing the 100 Ks? And then I emailed the race director, transferred my entry, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before race day, I'm entered into this 100 Ks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you, after that 8-loop training run, did you literally just get out the calendar and say, what's next? Did you automatically think, I want to do a bigger distance than was it 53, 54K? Was that the desire to go bigger?
It really was. It was just this burning desire just to do more and see how much I could do and see what I'm capable of. And that's when, it really started to kind of take hold. And now I don't do any small distances in events. It's all hundreds and backyard ultras, and I just love it.
So what did your friends and family think about this? Like, are they sort of like, Tammy, steady on? Like, are they worried about your welfare? Like, because I think to most people it's a crazy distance.
Yeah.
And most people from an outsider looking in, you think, is that really healthy to do those big Ks? Like, how do you approach it? Do you think there is a limit for yourself, or are you aware of what your body's telling you and you stop before you reach that limit? Or
I think like all my friends and family can see how passionate I am about running, and they know how much joy it brings me. And I am pretty level-headed when it does come to injury. Like if I have had a couple injuries, and while it's absolutely killed me not to run, I have, turned to cycling or walking while my leg has gotten better or something like that. So I do try to be mindful of that. My running friends just think it's brilliant what I do. My work friends who don't run or whatever, they think you're bloody crazy. And so it's like, I did a 35K training run yesterday, and they're like, you're nuts. So it's definitely two different versions of what they think, but everyone just thinks it's, it's pretty cool what we do.
So what is it about running? Because when you had what was your third child's name again?
Zoe.
When you had Zoe, you wanted to get fit and healthy.
Yeah.
You could have chosen anything. So you could have gone to the gym or chosen cycling or played, netball, touch footy.
Yeah.
What was it about running that you seem to be drawn to that?
Yeah.
Have you reflected on why that might be?
I think one, probably because I'm a very uncoordinated person. I can't catch a ball to save my life. So that kind of ruled out, any of the ball sports. And it's something that I can do anytime. Like if I want to go out and run, I can just go out at any particular time. I don't need to wait for a team or something. If I want to run at 5 a.m. in the morning, I can. If I want to run at 5 in the afternoon, I can. You don't need anyone to be able to run.
So you can do it anywhere, anytime, any location.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's just so varied as well. Like you can, if you're on holidays, you can go run around, on the Esplanade or in the mountains. Like there's so much variance into actual running itself that creates, a lot of memories.
Do you do better if you're running alone or if you're in a group talking to people as you run?
I'm a bit of much the muchness. I really do enjoy my group runs. I have a group that I run with on Tuesdays and Thursdays that really we all have a great time. Most of my runs are solo though, particularly my long runs, because no one's usually as crazy enough as me to do something like that. So I do spend a lot of time by myself running. So.
And are you thinking about anything when you run? Are you listening to music, or are you thinking about work or your family, or is it a bit more meditative where you try to block everything out? What's your thought process when you run?
Yeah, it's I don't listen to music too much, to be honest, on my long runs. I actually find that I run better and I feel mentally better when I'm not listening to music. I just like to be in my own head, and there's always so much going on in my life. It's just that quiet kind of reflection about what's happened in the week, what I need to do, like what's coming up, what my plans are, decisions that need to be made. Like we're building a house right now, so there's, that extra kind of element as well. So it's my me time.
Okay, so you do your training run, you look at the calendar, let's go, you're all excited because you would have gained so much confidence and self-belief from that, because there were other top ultra runners at the training run, like John Pearson, for example.
And he's a great guy. He is one of the most encouraging people I know, and it's something that's really stuck in my head since that day, is how lovely he was and how just lovely the community is. It's a real epitome in my point of moving into just ultra running.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure, it's that community.
Yeah.
So what was your next big event after that training run? Was it Blackall? And how much time had passed? Because I think it was a September training run.
Yeah, there wasn't much time. I think there was only 4 or 5 weeks after. So I really didn't have, I basically only had recovery time and then taper and then into Blackall. Yeah.
So training run was September 2021, early September.
Yeah.
I think it would have been maybe the 3rd or the 4th.
Yeah.
And then Blackall is in October.
Yeah.
So are you saying it was about 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, it wasn't very much. I think it's usually mid-October for Blackall, so.
And you signed up for the 100K?
Yeah, well, I'd originally only signed up for the 50K. But then after doing 53Ks here and having run with my friends that were doing the 100K, I was like, you know what? I can do this. Like, why am I not doing the 100? And that's when I transferred my entry over.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us about Blackall. Tell us about the lead up to Blackall. So you had to recover from dead cow.
Yeah.
Tell us about the lead up, and then if you can talk about the actual event itself, because it's a iconic race. Like it's up there on the Australian ultra running calendar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I didn't, obviously, after doing the 53Ks, I took some time to recover, and then I just did more of the easier runs up until Blackall, because obviously, it was only 4 weeks out. And then at the starting line at Blackall, it was just like, oh my goodness, like I've got 100Ks to run, and, bell goes off and you start, running out of the hall, and your watch clicks over at 1 kilometre. I'm like, oh, wow, I've got like 99Ks to go. But just the scenery and the people around you and everything is just dynamic. Like that was probably one of my favourite experiences as well, because it was just so beautiful and diverse.
So you start off in Mapleton.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have a bit of imposter syndrome, because you only just did the 8 loops and then 4 or 5 weeks later you're doing the 100K, and I guess you would have been looking around at all these pros and they've all got their gear on. Did you did you feel confident that you could do this, or was it more or less, let's see how far the mind and body can go? Like, were you sure that you could complete the 100K?
I was determined to finish it one way or another. Like, I don't consider myself a fast runner by any means. When I do 100Ks, I'm always in the last, quarter of the pack. So I do take, I take my time, that kind of thing. But I was very determined. I think my determination is one of the things that pushes me through to these longer distances. I did end up having an injury about 70 Ks in.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty that was in the pain cave then, and I did have to walk quite a lot just to finish it. But I was like, I am not stopping. And because I had to walk so much, it took me 21 hours to finish that 100 Ks. So it was a long, hard battle.
Yeah. What the aid stations would be, how many Ks apart would they be?
They're usually, give or take, like the big ones are usually about 20, 30 Ks apart. And then you do just have like the little water ones as well, kind of sprinkled in between there.
So you're just trying to survive from aid station to aid station.
Yeah,
and that would be, it'd be a sense of achievement as you can tick off the aid stations and you get that big pump up from the volunteers.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I kind of do my mindset with those kind of trail events, is just ticking off the aid stations. I always try not to think about what I've got left to do. I always think, okay, there's only 20 Ks to the next aid station. Let's get to that. And then, you have something to eat, you have something to drink, might change your socks. Then it's like, okay, all right, 24 Ks to the next aid station. Let's do that. And I try to break it down like that. So that way, what's that saying? You don't eat an elephant with a spoon or something like that.
Right. I haven't heard that one, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so things were going well until the 70K mark, and then you actually got injured.
Yeah, so I developed tendonitis in my foot. So every step was just like a knife in my foot. It was excruciating. And that's when I was like, okay, I want to finish, but I can't run. So I just basically hiked it all the way through until about, 100 metres before the finish line, where I just legged it to the finish line.
Oh, so you ran in.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow. So at 70 Ks, you could no longer run and you just had to power hike or go as fast as you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're making pretty good time before that 70K?
I think so. I didn't really pay too much attention to the time, because time isn't when I'm doing trail events, the beauty about trail events is that it's more about the experience rather than the time, which is a little bit more, road focused. So I think I was making pretty good time, but then obviously, that kind of slowed down significantly. But those two events really kind of just led me to everything. And now, it's a regular thing that I do.
Did you consider pulling out at 70K? Were you thinking, well, I am injured, there is no shame in pulling out? Like, did you think about, hey, maybe I should preserve myself, you live to fight another day?
Yeah.
Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah.
Because that's still quite a way to go. You still have 30 Ks to go.
Yeah. I think because I'm so stubborn, I'm like, no, I'm already I've got to finish. I know I'm going to have recovery time after this. I know some people would probably go, oh, you should pull out. But for me, it just wasn't an option, because it wasn't a significant kind of injury. Like, it wasn't going to be a permanent injury. Like, I knew that I was going to be able to recover and find a way to not have that happen again. So that's kind of was my thinking. And I just wanted to finish. Like, I wanted to have that 100K, Tammy is a 100K distance runner on my belt.
On June 17 at Dead Cow Gully, we are hosting the Australia Backyard Masters. This event will be simply epic. We have signed up the best backyard runners in this country. Plus, we have the ultra running legend Harvey Lewis flying over from the US. We also have the NZ7, which is a team of elite Kiwi runners who want to take on the Aussies. This will be a showdown for the ages, but we need your help. Most of the interstate and overseas runners don't have crew or any equipment. They're literally jumping on the plane and turning up to the event. So if you can help us out with some equipment like a marquee or a chair, or if you could volunteer as crew, we would love to hear from you. Can you please get in contact if you can help out? Just send me a message on 0439 666 079. We would really love your help and they would be forever grateful. Thank you. So why do you put yourself in these sorts of situations? Because some people would say, you know, life's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
Like, why put yourself through extra pain and suffering? Like, you know, why would you be seeking this out? So no one's got a gun to your head.
No.
You're paying a ticket.
Yeah,
I'm paying for
the
Dead
pain
Cow.
factor. Yeah.
You're paying for Blackall.
Yeah.
You're giving up your weekend.
Yeah.
You got accommodation costs. Sometimes you have time off work. Mm-hmm. So for people out there confused about why would you put yourself in these situations? What's the appeal?
I think it's that feeling of accomplishment, knowing that you can do this, and it is something hard. Like, if it was easy, as they say, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So knowing that I've done something really hard and that I've accomplished that, it's such a good feeling, and it's something that you can help spread with the community. Like, the running community, as you know, is just so supportive. Like, if someone's hurt, everyone's willing to help out. Like, it's just such a huge kind of, once you get involved with it, it's such a huge community, and there's so much more involved than what you think that it might be. And it's just, yeah.
So you become a better runner. Does it affect other areas of your life? Like, what happens when you go back to work? Like, I'd imagine, because I mean, I haven't done 100K. I'd imagine you've just got so much confidence and self-belief. Like, and if you can do that, you can do anything. Is that the mindset? Like, does it improve? Does it kind of filter into other areas of your life?
I think so. You know, it's a topic of almost every conversation. If you've just if you haven't seen a family member for a while and they ask what you've been up to, you can tell them what you've been doing, and a lot of people are interested in that kind of thing. And it goes back to the I can do this. It means that I can do almost anything. If I can do hard things, I can do this.
So if you wanted to start up a business, or if you wanted to build a house, or are you saying if there's any other challenges in life, this can actually help?
Yeah, that mental strength of pushing through pain and just pushing yourself. I mean, running necessarily isn't about pain. It's not always about that. Obviously, it does hurt quite a bit once you start ticking over the 100K mark kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you can just go, yep, I've done this, so let's do this.
Yeah. So it's transferable to other areas. So with your 100K run, what I see, I mean, I'm not speaking from personal experience, but just from my conversations with other runners, it seems that like you run, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what problems you're going to face.
No.
So it's a real lesson in problem solving.
Oh, absolutely.
If something pops up, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
So you could just chuck in the towel, or you could just take a deep breath and think, what's the plan here? How do I get around this?
Exactly. And I've done quite a few runs now, or ultras, and every ultra has been different. Like you've got that different experience for each one. And I think that's brilliant because it's not just the same thing over and over again. You know, the weather might be different. You might have different crew. You know, you might be feeling different. You know, your training might be different. There's so many different factors where each run is different. And it's just, you know, that variability.
What issues have you had? Like what's, for you in your running career, what's the standard things that have come up that have been challenges? Like what are some problems you've had to deal with?
I think the main thing was probably I've had a couple injuries. So obviously the tendinitis, I actually developed that twice. So after Blackall, during Blackall, I got that tendinitis. And when Dead Cow was postponed because of COVID,
That's right, yeah.
I actually did 11 hours by myself at home as a substitute.
That's right.
For Dead Cow. Yeah.
Wow.
So when Dead Cow was, delayed, I did 11 hours at home. And again, I developed tendinitis. So I'm like, okay, I need to fix this. Like, how do I stop myself from getting this tendinitis? And that's when I actually contacted Paul McKinnon. He owns the Balanced Runner, and he helped with my running gait and everything. And so I had a few good sessions with him, and he was amazing. And I've never had that ever again.
So actually, I've got my dates confused. You must have done the training run in 2020.
2020.
2020, because Dead Cow was 2021.
Yeah.
First Dead Cow.
Yeah.
So it was, you're all geared up for that. It was, they had the COVID cancellation, which was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
Yeah, because that was like the week before or something, wasn't it? It was
It was,
the week before.
I had a gut feeling that, you know, because things were just going so well.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it took off, and it started off with 6 of us doing loops. We did 2 loops. We took some photographs, whacked it on Facebook, and then it kind of went around Facebook and Instagram, and it was and then through the training runs it built up. But COVID cancellation happened, and then a lot of people did their own runs.
Yes.
And you pretty much you went all out.
Yeah, I did.
And you were actually injured for when the new date.
The event, I know. I was so disappointed.
But you never knew that.
No. I didn't know when the event was going to be rescheduled. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. I didn't, and I actually kept running until my watch died. And I was so cranky that my watch died. I'm like, all right, I've done 11 hours. That'll do.
Of 6.7.
Yeah. So I, had a really good shot at it, and I was really happy with how I'd gone. But then overnight I'd developed that tendinitis again, which was so frustrating. Yeah. But that's when I was like, okay, I've had it twice. I need to fix this.
You still rocked up to Dead Cow, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did
a few loops.
Yeah, I did four loops.
Yep.
And then I supported a couple of my friends, Julie and Doug, that were doing it at the time.
Gotcha.
So, and that was really fun, just being a crew member as well. So it was good to be on the other side as well to kind of experience that. And it was a blast as well.
Yeah,
like the hours just went by so quickly.
Your big achievement really was doing the 100 miles at Clint Eastwood. That was major, because you were right up there.
Yeah.
In terms of the last female standing, you would have been.
I think we actually broke the Australian record for most females still standing at 24 hours. I think I was number 5 or number 6. I can't quite remember.
So you did your 100 miles.
Yes.
And there would have been, 4 or 5 females left,
which is amazing to show how far the backyard ultras, like, it's really starting to, particularly now, it's really starting to take off, and people are showing a lot of interest in it. Bigger numbers, and and just these records that just keep getting smashed out of the water.
So talk about the preparation to Clint Eastwood. Did you do anything different? Like you've done a fair bit of running by then.
Yeah.
So you'd done lots of the format, like training for the format.
Yeah.
So you've kind of probably gone back to the drawing board and said, "This is what I can do better."
Yeah.
Did you feel really confident going into Clint Eastwood, or did you have a magic crew behind you? How did you?
I had a lot of things. I did have a magic crew, but my training, I have slowly tweaked it over time. I've done, if I've done dead cow, I'm like, okay, maybe I can try this next time, or maybe I can try this pacing next time and add this to my tent. And it's just been gradual tweaks over time. And I'd done 17 hours at Clint Eastwood. So this was after dead cow.
Oh, right. So what year did you do 17 loops?
So that was
2021.
Gotcha. Yes.
Oh, wow. So you've clocked up a big total.
Yeah. So I've gradually over the last couple of years gone from, officially 11 hours and then 17, and now I'm on to 24. So I've kind of increased it over, even 8 at the start, obviously.
Wow.
So it's been an increase each year. And I did have a goal in mind for Clint Eastwood, obviously having a bit more experience in running. Like I've been running ultras for a couple of years now, so I got a bit of experience under my belt. And I had a goal of 20 hours with a ultimate goal of 24 hours. So I've done a lot of training. I find my body responds better with more training, keeping that really high mileage, and I love it. Like I love my training. I enjoy it almost as much as the event itself because I'm focused and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this today, or I want to do this. So I was backing up the long run with another long run and then another run in the afternoon. So I was really trying to give myself the best possible kind of way to achieve my goal, knowing that my body works better by doing a higher mileage. I don't I don't conform to a standard marathon training plan.
Yeah.
They just don't work for me. So I've slowly kind of tweaked my own, plans and everything like that until now. And I've actually brought a coach on board this year as well.
Oh, you got a coach?
It's really exciting.
Look out.
So I've never had one before.
What's that like?
It's really good, actually. His name's Matt.
What's Matt's last name?
Daniels.
Shout out to Matt Daniels.
Yeah, Matt Daniels.
So he's a coach up in Bundy?
No, he's actually based in Victoria. So he is my online running coach.
Wow.
He's done some pretty amazing things like 55 marathons in 55 days, like a 700 run from, I can't even remember where, but I remember reading all of his stats and going, this guy knows what it's like to be an ultra runner, like to know that what is required to be an ultra runner, and just he's a really positive person as well. Like he's really encouraging. So as soon as I started chatting to him, I'm like, "Yep, let's give this a shot. Let's try something different. See if I can just push myself that little bit more."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you just have like a video call once a week? Like how does it work? Does he give you a training program?
Yeah, so I have a training program. It's 4 weeks ahead. So we'll have all of that on board and we basically just stay in touch. I can contact him anytime and just say, hey, this is happening, or I think we should tweak this, or he'll give suggestions of what we should do. But yeah, he's the stuff that he's put on my training plan has helped me push through. Like there's been intervals and stuff where I've gone, oh gosh, that's pretty hard, and then I do it. I'm like, hell yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So it's just that little bit of an extra push that I'm looking for, just to further myself that little bit more.
So it must give you more structure than you had beforehand.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess he's holding you accountable.
Yeah, that's right. But I think one thing you like is I don't feel the pressure from it, but I feel the determination that I get from it, if that makes sense, that I want to, do this 35 Ks that he's got on the plan for me. I want to do that and tick that off and just go that next level. And I have seen, huge improvements even just now, like there's been this beautiful incline of progress. Right. Yeah.
Does he give nutrition advice as well?
Sometimes, yeah. Okay. I do try to be very mindful of what I'm eating, particularly when I'm really heavy into my training. Really good nutritious food like avocados and things like that.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm always eating, when I've got the heavy weeks on, like the boys at work joke that, oh, you're eating again, Tammy. Yep, sure I am. I'm starving.
Well, if you're doing 100+ K weeks, I mean, how many calories you're burning?
Yeah, that's right.
Huge.
Yeah. And I'm not super fast or anything. Sometimes it does take me a bit longer than the fast guys. So what they, if they're doing 30 Ks and I do the same, it might take me, half an hour more, So I'm on my feet a lot longer than that. Say, for example, classic example is Ryan Crawford. He knocks out those loops like a, 35 minutes and he's just in and out. And me, I'm, sitting around that 48 to 52 minute mark.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the big takeaway for backyard ultras. It's to run your natural pace.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Crawford's had a lot of success. It doesn't mean that you have to replicate his loop times.
No.
Because that's where you come unstuck.
Exactly.
You need, you could be running beyond your capacity. Your heart rate's all jacked up.
Yeah.
And people come undone. And I think for most people, running a slower loop makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
For most.
Yeah.
I know Drew Willis, he must have been coming in around, 52, 53?
Yeah.
Probably similar to you, right?
Yeah. I find it's just that, for me personally, it's just enough time to have something to eat, maybe change your shoes, but not cool down enough that you're getting out of the chair and going, oh my God, I'm a robot.
Yeah.
It's that just that nice amount of time where you don't have to kind of worry about getting up all stiff-legged because your body's cooled down again.
Have you had any stomach issues, Tammy? Like that seems to be a big thing where you can get away with it with 10K or a half marathon, but when you do those bigger Ks, you need to take in calories, otherwise it's all over. You don't have the energy to go on. So how do you keep food down? Have you had any situations where you've been sick?
I've been pretty lucky actually. I haven't really had too many kind of stomach issues in any of the bigger runs. There was a time at Clint Eastwood last year where my belly did feel a bit off. I think it was in the afternoon or something like that. I was like, oh, I don't feel that great. So Julie and Lee, who are crewing me, most amazing crew ever, they went and got me some ginger beer.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And I just had that for a couple loops and then I was good. But apart from that, I really can't say I've ever thrown up or I've kind of had to pull out because of stomach cramps or cramping or things like that.
Do you take gels or do you try to eat whole foods? What's your strategy there?
I'm a bit of a mix. I always try to take a bit of everything. Like I have gels. I love Spring Energy gels. And I've just recently tried the Morton's gels, which I think are really, really good as well. And also whole foods. Like I always say, particularly for the backyard ultras, bring more food than what you think you need because you'll find that you just burn through it quite quickly, and bring a variety of food because you'll find that if you are doing longer loops or you are aiming to do longer hours, I should say, you might experience a bit of flavour fatigue. So you might look at it and go, oh, I don't want to eat that. But you really need to eat something. So you should find something that, that you can kind of stomach to keep those calories going.
It sounds like, though, you've been fairly lucky with the whole stomach thing, because that seems to be some people's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And what they've got the drive, they've got the fitness, but they just eat something that doesn't agree with them, and it's just hellish out there. Where I remember Ryan Crawford at Clint Eastwood.
I think he couldn't take anything in. Is that one?
Yeah, it must have been 2021, where he just had this horrific experience where he's just vomiting and he's dry reaching, and most people would pull out after a few loops, but he kept going for ages.
Yeah.
And eventually I think he just timed himself out.
Yeah.
He just couldn't take in any calories.
Yeah, see, now that's really tough, because obviously calories are quite important during that time. And when you're feeling like that, it takes a lot of mental strength to get through that. So, kudos for him for even getting through that.
So did you have a good crew at Clint Eastwood?
Yeah.
And how important is crew in doing your big miles?
Yeah. So I've experienced both being a solo runner and also having crew. And having crew just makes such a difference. Julie and Lee have crewed me last year, and Julie crewed me the year before as well. And it's just so good to just have that support there and that encouragement, and not have to worry about, where's my shoes, where do I put my food, like where's this food, and just for them to have everything ready. I can tell them, okay, next lap I'm gonna change my clothes, or I'm gonna do this, or get me this ready. Just to take away some of that effort that's needed during when you really should be having that bit of a rest period.
Yeah. Look, I know some runners can get away with it. So in the first year, Drew Willis, Rowan Cassidy, they just came out.
Yep.
And they got through their 24 hours. They're terrific runners. But I think if you want to win events and do really big miles, like at some point your brain's going to switch off.
Yeah.
You're going to hallucinate. You're going to be tired. And, you don't want that extra pressure and stress of preparing meals when you're hurting and you're...
And all you want to do is just sit down and just relax for a few minutes, and you go, oh, no, I really need to eat something, or so you've got to get up again and find it, or, I've done I've done Blackall 100 by myself a couple times, and I've done it, my husband's crewed me before as well. And to have that crew is definitely a huge help.
You should be looking forward to coming back, completing the loop, coming back, completing that loop. You want to just come back, lie back in your chair and enjoy those 7 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to muck around with food and drink, and that's just, it takes the shine off it.
Yeah.
Some people do rock up to Dead Cow and Backyard Ultras, and they're like, oh, she'll be right, mate.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to bring a chair. I'm just going to bring an esky. But you sort of, they quickly change their tune when they're deep into the event and things get hard.
Yeah.
And you need your creature comforts. You need that chair.
Yes.
You need everything organised, and because you just want to focus on your main job, which is running the loop.
Exactly. You've trained so hard to get to this point. You just really need to focus on that and getting through those loops. It's hard to try and focus on, I should be doing this or I should be doing that, when you should be sitting in your chair and resting. And that's one thing I do recommend if you are looking into getting into Backyard Ultras, is that reclining chair. It's like the bee's knees.
To put your feet up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. My first two, obviously the 8 hours here, I just had my camp chair, and also the 17 hours I did at Clint Eastwood, I had just had a normal chair as well. Ended up having to use the esky just to put my feet up a bit. And then after that, I'm like, nah, I'm getting my recliner chair.
Yeah.
And huge difference.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So what makes a good crew? Tell me, what are the qualities of a good crew? Like, you obviously want them to be positive and enthusiastic, but at the same time, if you're having a bit of a low, you still want them to listen to you and address your needs. So what's that balance that crew members have to get, and what qualities are you looking for?
I think the biggest thing would be to communicate what you want with them, even prior to the event, like discussing what you think that you'll need, what your goals are, what you want them to do. And you don't want to go, all right, I really want to get to such and such hour, and then, having that difficult time, and then your crew going, oh, no, it'll be right. You can just sit down if you want. You want them to be pushing you, saying, no, you can do this. And I always say, don't make the decision to stop while you're sitting in the chair. At least just get up, get to the starting corral, and just see how you go. And you'll be surprised how much more you can do. Because while you're sitting in that chair, it's beautiful and it's comfortable, and, you're not in pain. And then you've got to get up again. And it's making that choice to get up again. So you'll regret it if you say, oh, I'm going to stop here while I'm nice and comfortable.
So do you have a meeting or a plan with the crew beforehand? You say, listen, if I get to loop 15 and I say, oh, if I've had enough, I want you to force me to go out. Like, is that the plan? Or, what if things change? What if you really do want to toss in the towel, but then your crew doesn't let you? Like, I guess, how do you account for that randomness in the event where you don't know what's going to happen, and actually sticking to that original plan?
I think having a crew that really knows you quite well is obviously a huge benefit, because they will really know if you do need to pull out or not. Like, we had a game plan at Clint Eastwood where I said, I don't want to stop. Do not let me stop before 20 hours. Like, I'm doing that regardless. They're like, yep, all right. And then, I got to 20 hours and I was still doing really good. And then 21 hours, it was starting to hurt a bit. And then it was like 22 and I was like, oh, this is tough. And they're like, you're almost there, Tammy. Like, we're not letting you stop, because they knew how much I wanted it to. And they really helped to just with that positivity and just their own, determination to help me get to my goal. So,
and that's a very exclusive club, the 100-mile club. Like, there's not many people out there who've completed that. So that's, to a lot of people, that's like next level.
Yeah. And it's such a cool thing to do. Like, when I crossed that finish line, knowing I had 160 Ks on my watch, it was the best feeling. And the girls were there just cheering me on, and it was just, it was such a beautiful moment.
Well done. So with the crew, I've often thought about this, because you need 3 components for success. So you obviously need a race director to put on the event.
Yeah.
You've got the race director and volunteers. You've got yourself who runs it. And then you've got the crew. So you need all these 3
to all work together.
To get the big miles. Now, the race director gets some glory, because it's their event. If it's a successful event, it's a bit of an ego boost for them. The runner who achieves the big miles, it's great for them. Yeah. But I often think it's the crew who they're in the shadows, they work away quietly.
They're the quiet achievers.
Yeah, and they're sacrificing their own time. So they've also got to give up, work for a few days. It's going to cost them to go down there. Yeah. So, I just think it's that self-sacrifice by the crew, which is so it's not really talked about much. I know Nicole talks about Leah,
Yeah.
what Leah did for her,
Yeah.
and that Leah was crucial for her success
Yeah.
when she did the 30 loops at Dead Cow.
Yeah.
But I really think runners should, when they're choosing their events, when they're looking at the calendar, I think they should at least crew once a year for someone else.
Just to have that experience.
Yeah, to have that experience and to also give back.
Yeah.
Because, I guess people are relying on the goodwill of the crew.
Exactly. Without crew, I mean, you've got the run director, obviously. Without crew and without volunteers, you haven't got an event.
You don't. Well, as I said, Drew Willis, Rowan Cassidy, you can do your 100 miles if you're a really good runner, but to actually win the event and get your records, you can't do that without crew.
No,
Look at Phil Gore.
Yeah.
Crew's everything for him.
Yeah.
And he knows it.
Yeah.
So I think every runner should at least crew once a year for someone, and even I think it's a good experience just so the roles are flipped.
Yeah.
And you can actually gain new insight from
absolutely.
crewing, and you could have better directions and instructions for your crew next time as a runner.
That's right. Like Julie, Lee and myself, we've done a couple of debriefs about what we should do next time. And one thing that they said was really helpful was, which actually stole the idea from Phil Gore. So Phil Gore, thanks very much. Was the list with lap 1 and then the distance and then what you needed. And then all the way down to 24 hours I had. And it was like, lap 8, change clothes. So they kind of knew what was coming, what I was going to be wanting around that time.
Gotcha. Were you recording all your calories, like your food, your drink, or was it just...
No, it was more just the time because when you're obviously doing it for so long, you do lose track of time. Like, what time is it? So having that time against that lap and what I was kind of requiring, they said that was really helpful. And I just recorded when I changed my shoes as well, so I could kind of... I'm pretty meticulous in keeping track of the distance that's done on my shoes. So I kept track of that as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in shoe rotation and not, completely killing your shoes, buying new shoes when, they've kind of reached that, 650 kind of mark, because even though they still look good, you've got that internal kind of compression and things like that can happen. And then you put on a new pair of shoes and get, this is nice.
Yeah. So you do hear that a lot. Does that give you a real boost if you put on new shoes or you change your clothes or have a quick shower and you start the next loop? Does that actually gives you a boost? Does it?
Absolutely. Putting on fresh clothes after you've been in like sweaty clothes for like 6, 7, 8 hours. It really kind of gives you a bit of a boost to kind of keep going, a bit of a pip in your step.
It's a reset, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. Changing your socks, changing your shoes. Those are probably the biggest things. Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably some great advice to people starting this format is, since you've got the same loop, you can't change the loop and it's the same loop each time.
Yeah.
Why don't you just mix it up? Different shoes.
Yes.
Different clothes. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, you can break it up and say, okay, in 3 hours, I'm going to change my shoes, or in 3 hours, I'm going to do this. It kind of gives you those little, not mini goals essentially, but those mini breaks saying, okay, all right, let's do this. And then, all right, we'll just do another 5 hours and then we can do this. It's just breaking up that monotony to try and keep you going with that the loops.
I tell you what, because with Dead Cow, to get access to the showers, you need to do 15 loops, so 100K.
Yep.
And I thought a lot of people would have taken that up, but no one did. So they didn't have a shower until the event's over.
Yep.
But people were coming in, still with 20 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
20 minutes, 15 minutes, and yes, the shower's right behind me, and we're literally 20 minutes. No, sorry, 20 meters. 20 meters from the start line.
Yeah.
You know, and Phil Gore's a big one for this, like having a shower. Wouldn't that be a huge reset? I understand if you came in and you had 7 minutes,
Yeah.
I understand that's a bit tight.
Yeah.
But God, if you got 15 or 20 minutes, if you're a fast runner, why not have a nice hot shower?
Yeah. I can't say I've ever experienced that because I've never had the time to do that. But just washing the salt off would just be very refreshing.
Do you get some wet wipes?
Yeah.
Just sort of.
Face.
Sure.
Yeah. Make sure you keep reapplying your sunscreen too. That's a big one. I got fried to a crisp out here during the 8 hours.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since then, it's like trying to, okay, it's been 3 hours, let's put some more sunscreen on. And do your legs as well, because people forget about their legs. And like I've been burnt a few times on my legs, even though I spend hours running in the sun. But running all day in the sun is completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So where to from here? So you've had your big moment at Clint Eastwood. All of a sudden, you're on people's radar.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty amazing journey. So, witnessing you at Dead Cow with the 8 loops, and then you've done 100 miles and you were in the top 5 or 6 females. So do you have a big goal in mind, or do you think it's better to have a personal goal? Because, if you tell too many people, hey, I want to do 40 loops, do you think that puts too much pressure on yourself going into these events?
I think it only puts pressure on yourself if you let it put pressure on yourself, if that makes sense. I love having a goal and having what I want to do. And if my running friends know about it, then they can join me on runs, or even just that bit of encouragement, because we all have bad runs. It's the bad runs, as they say, that make you stronger. You never regret a run because you're like, oh, that was really tough, but I'm glad that I did it. And it's just, I think it's good to have goals because it gives you that bit of extra drive to get up in the morning and go, okay, this is working towards my goal to get that done.
So do you want to put pressure on yourself and do you want to disclose what your goal is, or is it hush-hush?
No, I'm happy to. I am planning, I'm going to get to 30 hours at Clint Eastwood. That's like my next kind of goal.
Yep.
At Clint Eastwood, when I finished the 24 hours, like upon reflection, there is that bit of regret about finishing when I did, because I'd gotten to my goal and like that was it. I'd gotten my goal. Okay, I'm good. And I really could have gone for another few hours. I was still coming in, 5 to 7 minutes, up to 10 minutes, time to spare. But I had that bit of pressure, I had to check out of my motel, and that was only at 10 a.m. And, my crew had been up for 24 hours as well. So we had a bit of a joke about them, staying up all night. They hadn't done that since they were in their teens or whatever. So,
it's a tricky one because human beings, it seems that we need goals in our life. It's something to strive for. It gives everything structure. So
it does, yeah.
If your goal is to do 24 loops, your whole running plan could be geared towards that, and that's really going to help you in those lower loops, 5, 10, 15, 20. It's really going to help you. But there's no two ways about it. You do pack it in. Once you reach your goal, physically and mentally, you pack it in.
Yeah.
And you could have done more, but it's you hear about it all the time. It's just that switch in the head where your body's gearing for the 100.
Yeah.
The 100 miles. Your mind's gearing for the 100. And as soon as you do it,
it's like, okay, I'm good now.
It packs it in. And it's like you can't do one more loop.
Yeah.
It would be horrific. So, how do you want to change that? How do you go about changing that mentality of maybe not having a goal? Or do you think for you it's you need a goal?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I need that goal to keep my legs going. Okay, I'm only at, such and such hours. I need to get to here, just to help push you through to at least that point. But then also having that mindset, trying to change your mindset as I'm going to go until I can't go anymore instead of having that goal. So there's kind of two ways you can kind of go about it. Particularly when you are starting off in a backyard ultra, just don't doubt yourself. You are capable of so much more than what you actually think you are. And just keep going.
Our Dead Cow Gully documentary has amassed 100,000 views. That is absolutely crazy. But look, it's not surprising in a sense because it's a beautiful doco which captures the spirit of the gully and inspires people to go out for a run and push their limits. While we love putting out that content, it does cost us some money. We think it's worth the expense, but you can actually help us out. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's just one click and it's free, so there is no cost. If we can get more subscribers to our channel, we can monetize and get paid through YouTube advertisements. This will help us pay for future podcasts and documentaries. So please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I think I've said this before. The worst that can happen is you time out on the course or I can't pick you up. That's the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
And at least you know then that you found your limit.
Yeah. So
you might have stopped for physical reasons or mental reasons, combination of both, but at least you know you've left everything out on the course.
Exactly. And I don't think I've found my limit yet. Like each time I do it, I go, I can do a bit more. Like I'm capable of this. I can go that little bit further.
So you reached your 30 at Clint Eastwood in August?
August, yes.
And what's the plan for the crew? So you reach your 30. What's your instructions for the crew? Because as we just talked about, you could have more left in the tank.
Yeah.
What's your strategy after that major goal?
Yeah, so this year I'm having Julie, Lee and also my husband come along so they can do a bit of rotation. Obviously having crew members awake for the same amount of time for you isn't particularly ideal because they're obviously fatigued as well. And they really are the backbone of, getting a runner through what they need to get through. So that organisation of having everything ready when you come in and just, it's having that, that backbone of the crew and just them all working together to get you through. And I think once I get to that 30 hours, it'll be like, okay, I have to time out. Like that's really I should say my main goal is to keep going until I time out. But my mini goal is 30 hours and then just keep going until I can't go anymore.
Sure. So do you need a sleep strategy for 30 yards? For 30 loops, or do you think you can probably scrape through without sleep?
I'd be probably pretty right. It wasn't until I'd finished the 24 hours and I'd kind of slowed down and stopped is when I kind of crashed. I wasn't feeling tired or anything like that during the 24 hours. And it was really cool, because you'd see the sunset and then you're going around in the loops and then all of a sudden it's like daylight again. I was like, I sent a message to my group chat. I'm like, I'm just out for my morning run since yesterday. So they thought that was pretty cool.
So what do you do the night beforehand? Because I imagine you'd be terribly nervous. Wouldn't people be nervous and their whole body's geared up for the event? How do you actually get a solid night's sleep? Because leading into the event with a sleep deficit, is very tricky to win the event.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you've only had 2 or 3 hours sleep,
Yeah.
I mean, good luck.
Yeah. I think getting a good sleep the night before is pretty much impossible. I keep thinking that my alarm's not turned on, even though it's never not been turned on. I think getting decent sleep in the lead up, like the week of, and just eating really good nutritious food, having that bit of taper time as well, drinking obviously lots of water to hydrate yourself. That week lead up, I think, is really important, just to make sure you take really good care of your body, because 99% of runners probably all have a shit sleep the night before a run.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so you can kind of bank up some really good sleep earlier in the week, eat really well.
Yeah.
And not putting too much pressure on yourself, because as you said, everyone's going to have a bad night's sleep. There's not many people who'd get a solid 8 hours before.
I don't think I've met one person who said, I've just had the best sleep, of the week the night before a run, because you're always thinking of, have I got this? Have I got that? What's going to happen during the day? And there's all sorts of things.
I don't get any sleep either. So I'm pretty delusional. As people are signing in, I'm running on half steam, so I've just been busy getting things ready. So as soon as that bell goes, there's a sense of relief for me. I can go, oh God, okay.
Yeah.
I can't do much now.
It would take you a while. Like, how long does it take you to set up an actual event?
Yeah, well, it's just getting the track ready. So it's 6.7 Ks. So most of that you have to mow.
Yeah.
It's not with a slash, so it's just with a ride-on mower. You're going back 3 or 4 times
to get that bit of
on the track. And then you got whippersnipping on the cow track.
Yeah.
And but it's also like leading up to it, you have a series of emails coming from runners asking questions.
Yeah.
You've got, some refunds to issue. You're trying to get everything organised with like your timing mats and volunteers.
Toilets.
Toilets are the big thing. Like with us, we've got Portaloo toilets, and the constant thing at the back of your mind is the toilets, because the runners are giving you feedback on what's going on with each Portaloo.
This one hasn't got any toilets.
Yeah. So I'm very jealous of a place like Clint Eastwood that actually have toilets in place. And their track is also a fixed track, which is maintained by the council, I'm assuming. So it's a bit tricky because, we have to move the cattle beforehand. And we have to, open up all the different wide gates.
Yeah, and I think you actually remove a section of the fence too, don't you, on the other side?
We probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I'm probably just whinging, but it was a real shock to the system, because as you can see, there's no one here in the property, and it's just this,
very quiet.
I'm used to being by myself, and all of a sudden you've got a few hundred people on site that you're responsible for. So it's initially it's a shock to the system, but I think the second year I was a bit more used to it, so I got a bit more sleep.
Yeah.
And but that first year with Ryan Crawford and John Pearson,
that was amazing.
I was out of it. I just, there's periods I just don't really remember.
Yeah, it was like, what was I doing then?
Yeah. So if the race director's hallucinating,
it's been a big few days.
Yeah. But I mean, once it goes, all I have to do is ring the bell.
Yeah.
And
that's
and
true.
the toilets.
Yeah, just keep an eye on everything, and ring that bell.
Yeah, you guys are doing.
Did you get RSI from ringing that bell?
Well, that was the joke. Yeah. So it was crazy. Something else I want to talk about is your capacity to go through pain and suffering. So if you're in a survival situation, if it's life or death, you hear about these situations where people can endure lots of pain and suffering. Like it could be getting out of trouble, like walking for help, or superhuman strength and all that type of thing. So it's very interesting to me. So there must be some kind of locked room in your mind that you only access in these life or death situations, and all of a sudden, if your life depends on it, you're going to push yourself beyond the limits.
Yeah.
So you've got that element. Do you think everyone's got the capacity to endure pain and suffering, or is it something you just have to train for? Is it about putting yourself in these situations, and it's like building muscles at the gym? Do you think you just get better and better and better? It's something you develop, or do you think everyone's got it inside them?
I think it's definitely a bit of both. Like, if I couldn't become a 100-mile runner overnight, it's been a gradual thing where I've just gradually increased the distance. So they say, repetition, and it gets easier and easier, and it just gradually becomes effortless. If you told me, 5 years ago that I was going to be an ultra runner, I'll probably go, what? And now 5, 10, 21 Ks is just an easy run.
Sure.
And it did take a long time to, build up the fitness. I wouldn't consider myself a natural runner by any means. It's something that I've had to really work on. I haven't come from a background of athletic family or anything like that. It's something that I've kind of worked on myself. And also the mindset as well. Some people, that's too hard, I can't do that. You've got to flip it and say, you know what, I can do that. Why can't I do that? I can do that. I think combination of those two things, that gradual increase and just having that mindset of what you can do instead of what you can't do.
So if someone chucked you in a 100-mile race 7 years ago, you probably couldn't complete it, right?
I would have given it a good shot.
Yeah.
But eventually I would have kind of bowed out because I just wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah.
Maybe in a survival situation.
Yeah.
There's a lot more on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I often think about that, whether it's like, are these ultra runners, do they have these particular qualities that separate them from everyone else? I just don't know how it works, whether they've always had that inside of them and they have to put themselves in a situation to access that, to open up that room, or whether it's just that slow build.
I think as the years have gone by, there has been a definite influx of the popularity of running. I think because it is such a versatile kind of thing. You can run, you can walk, you can run solo, you can run with groups, you can run on the road, you can run on the trails, and you've got all these different events that just brings everyone together. And we all know, if we've done an event, how awesome it is to have everyone, cheering you on and clapping, and, if you're a spectator, cheering on other people. Like, it's such a good feeling, and it's hard to get that, in other kind of sports, because it's just one thing, like, one particular sport, it's just, this is what you do each time. Whereas running is such a broad spectrum of running, and lots of people can do it.
And I think particularly backyard ultras, everyone wants the best for you.
Yes.
Like in a point to point, I guess a lot of the time you're out on your own.
Yes.
But a backyard ultra, each loop you come back to the start line and you got your crew, you got the crowd.
Yeah.
Watching.
And that's, other
runners.
That's one of the things that I really do love about backyard ultras is that you will always be surrounded by people. You're not going out on a run and all of a sudden everyone's stampeded off and you're left all by yourself for the next 2 hours. You'll always see people. You always come back to your group. If you're feeling a bit low, your crew can kind of give you a bit of a pep talk, or the other runners, have a bit of a chat while you're out on course. And that just helps make the time go quicker, swapping experiences.
Yeah.
And is this your first time? And all that kind of thing.
It's such a beautiful thing because, people don't know who you are.
Yeah.
most runners that cross the line are probably strangers.
Yeah.
But they want the best for you. They want you to do well.
Absolutely.
And it's quite unique. Like other sports, you're competing against each other. But at Dead Cow and other events, it's the really beautiful feeling how, often in life, it feels like you're on your own. Like you don't have strangers coming up to you saying, good on you, keep going.
That's right.
Like in your normal day job, you don't have someone coming up every hour. Yes, keep going.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Just survive the next 2 hours. You're doing such a great job. But this is very unique in that, it's the actual vibe and it's the community that can that's a reason for you to get out of your chair and go to the start line and do another loop. Like you talked about John Pearson.
Yeah.
His encouragement probably helped you
absolutely.
to do those 8 loops.
Yeah. And, one of the biggest things about community support is if you've got a runner coming up and they've only got 2 minutes to spare to get to the start line, you won't hear a louder, group like cheering them on. And it's just so awesome to see them run in and get to that finish line with that time to spare. And everyone is so happy for them. And there's just no feelings of, okay, well, that's one more person I've got to compete against. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, well, that's like Zach Willard's magic loop.
Yes.
I'm like, you were you here?
When he did his 6.7? Yeah, I was here.
Yeah, great. And that was a huge moment.
Yeah, because Drew ran with him then, didn't he?
Yeah, I honestly didn't think he was going to make it because, Zach has a lot of difficulty running because he's got spina bifida.
Yep.
So he most of the training we were doing, he was just walking really quickly.
Yep.
And the quickest loop he'd done at Dead Cow was about an hour 10.
Okay.
So we had to find 10 minutes or 11 minutes somehow.
Yep.
And he managed to do it with a couple, 2 minutes to spare.
Yeah. And like I just said, everyone was so supportive and cheering him on. And it was just so awesome to see him come in with Drew. And it was so lovely of Drew to support him for that lap.
Big time. And condolences go out to Zach's family because his mother passed away 2 days ago.
Yes.
So very sad. So Zach did his magic loop at a time when his mother was just diagnosed with lung cancer.
Yep.
And then, she couldn't make it out because she was too sick. And then, literally probably 10, 11 months later, she passed away. So
it's very sad.
Yeah, very sad. We're thinking of you, Zach, and
absolutely.
Yeah, he's going to try to replicate that magic loop in Easter. But again, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. And, he's another one that's so inspiring. Like, he's got spina bifida and he's still pushing himself to do this kind of thing and just to have that achievement of finishing that 6.7 in an hour. Like, it's just, you can draw so much inspiration from Zach himself.
You can. And that's something else I wanted to talk about because I've noticed being on Instagram and Facebook, and most of the followers are runners, 90% are runners, and some people can be really down on themselves. Like they could do a big loop number, like 15 loops or 18 loops, but they can consider themselves a failure because I think that they're looking up to these runners above them who are doing 30, 40, 50 loops.
Yeah.
But how many people on the street have done 100K, have done 15 loops? So I think it's important just to put things in perspective. If you run 100K, you're in the 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, Tammy, about comparing yourself to other runners? Does it help you? Does it inspire you to do greater loops, or do you think it can? You can constantly beat yourself up because you're not reaching their potential.
I think the biggest thing is that age-old saying, comparison is the thief of joy, or the joy. Thief of joy.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that is the main thing, because there's always going to be someone quicker than you. There's always going to be someone slower than you. There's always going to be someone doing something better. And it's making sure that you reflect on your own achievements and making sure that you're proud of your own achievements. And, you know, you can draw inspiration from others. You know, I've seen some Strava activities and stuff like, oh, that's a good idea. I might try that. You know, different kind of events, you know, like Phil Gore and his 24 park runs in 24 hours. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, that's a good way to challenge yourself in a different way. Just that kind of thing. You know, the David Goggins challenge as well.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's just finding ways to push yourself without obviously being disappointed about what you've already achieved, because what you've achieved, regardless of how small it is big.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a first-time runner completing their first 5Ks is just as big as myself completing my 100Ks. Like, that's a huge achievement.
Exactly.
They should be really proud of themselves.
Yeah, yeah. So if someone says, oh, look, you know, I don't want to come out to Dead Cow or a backyard ultra because, you know, I've only run 5 or 10K and there's no way I can compete with these other elite runners and I don't want to make a fool out of myself. Yeah. What would you say to
I have had a couple people actually say that to me, like, I'm not a distance runner or I've only done this. I'm like, you'll be surprised about how far you can actually go. Like, don't doubt yourself. Like, even myself, I've pushed myself to places where I never thought I'd go. It's just, you know, just see how you go. Don't just say, oh, I've only done this. You know, you have done this.
Yeah.
You know, how cool is that? You know, just keep going.
Well, we are at 1.5 hours.
Wow.
Tammy, did that fly pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in. You've driven all the way from Bundy.
Yes.
About 3 hours?
Yep, 3 hours back. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a 6-hour round trip. So that's a huge sacrifice. So thanks.
Oh, no worries at
Thanks
all.
for being the first guest, and no one can take that away from you.
Thank you. It's been an honour. It's been really good to talk. I love talking about running. Like, I always talk about it. So it's good to kind of get my own thoughts on it, about it, and just kind of encourage the little guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just start.
Yeah. So where can people find you? Are you on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on both Instagram and Facebook. You know, Tam loves to run on Instagram, which is, you know, that classic Instagram name.
Great.
So yeah, I usually post, you know, my, you know, events and a few of the bigger runs and stuff. I'm not an everyday poster, but I kind of keep track of where I'm up to and that kind of thing. But yeah, I love running and I love sharing running, and it's just a beautiful community. And once you kind of get involved with that, you'll never want to get out of it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And for those who are listening, when's your next big event? Is that Clint Eastwood or you have something before?
So I am currently training for Dead Cow.
You coming to Dead Cow?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And I've got the ticket for the Masters.
Oh, the Masters.
Well.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's gonna be a pretty big year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And a safe trip home.
Awesome. Thank you.